Welcome to the African Weekly Roundup, a weekly program every Sunday here on HORUFADHI Media, where I discuss the latest news and events across the African continent. I'm Sudan Mohammed, your host and producer here on HORUFADHI Media. We hope you find this program very informative. Please like, share, and for similar content, do subscribe to HORUFADHI Media. Also, do subscribe to HORUFADHI Media Group's second channel, known as HORUFADHI TV, where you are currently watching this program, and where you can find other exclusive programs, such as Behind the Scenes and Mahahisal, among others. And last but not least, do follow myself, Sultan Mohammed, Suleiman Hashi, Yasin Abdi, and the wider HORUFADHI Media team on our social media platforms that should appear on the screen any moment. Let's get straight into the headlines. And we kick off in Sudan, where at least 14 workers are reported to have died after a gold mine collapsed in the northern region of the country, state mining authorities confirmed on Friday. According to the state-run news agency SUNA, the fatal collapse happened after one of the hillsides that surround the Jebel al-Ahmar gold mine, situated near the Egyptian border, gave way on Thursday afternoon. Many other miners are still missing among the rubble, it confirmed. Witnesses cited by SUNA said the workers were searching inside mining wells for gold using heavy machinery, which caused the initial collapse. Several of the bodies, mostly of young men, have been recovered from the site, and search efforts are ongoing, according to state media. Now, a security source cited by the very same state media said workers are feared to be trapped beneath the mine's groundwater. However, further few details were given. Now, collapses are quite common in Sudan's gold mines, where safety standards and maintenance are quite poor. In 2021, 31 people were killed after a defunct gold mine collapsed in the western Kordofan province. Now, Sudan is a major gold producer, with various mines scattered across the country. Now, staying in Sudan, the signing of an agreement to name a Sudanese civilian government and launch a new transition towards elections was delayed until April 6th, according to a spokesman for the negotiation process on Saturday. Khalid Umar Yusuf said on Twitter that the military and civilian parties have been unanimously agreed to redouble efforts to overcome the remaining obstacles within a few days and pave the way for the signing of the final political agreement on April 6th. The accord was originally scheduled to be signed on Saturday, but was delayed due to a lack of consensus on some of the outstanding issues, Yusuf said in a statement earlier that day. Now, disagreements surfaced this week over the timeline for integrating the powerful paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, into the military, a move called for in a framework deal for the new transition signed in December. Now over to Burkina Faso, where Burkina Faso has expelled 2 French journalists working for the newspapers Le Monde and Libération. The 2 newspapers said on Sunday, accusing the authorities of seeking to stifle freedom of speech with an escalating crackdown on foreign media. Now, Libération said its correspondent Angus Favre and Le Monde Sophie Douce arrived in Paris early on Sunday after they were summoned separately for questioning by the military authorities on Friday and later notified of their expulsion. The 2 are, and I quote, journalists of perfect integrity who worked in Burkina Faso legally with valid visas. We strongly protest against these absolutely unjustified expulsions, said Libération in an editorial statement on its website. There was no immediate response from authorities in Burkina Faso, and there was no immediate possible attempt to reach for any comments. And the French Foreign Ministry did not immediately respond to requests for a comment, either, according to international media. Now, Burkina Faso's spokesman, the government spokesman, that is, Jean Emmanuel, wrote after the piece was published that the government strongly condemns these manipulations disguised as journalism to tarnish the image of the country. Now, expulsions mark the latest move against the media from former colonial power France by the military junta running Burkina Faso. On Monday, it suspended all broadcasts by France 24 after the news channel interviewed the head of Al-Qaeda in North Africa, saying the interview was part of a process of legitimizing the terrorist message, and we know the effects of this message in this country. In December, Burkina Faso government also suspended Radio France Internationale, or RFI, which belongs to the same France Media's Monde group as France 24, accusing the radio station of airing the message of intimidation attributed to a terrorist chief. Now over to the Horn of Africa in Somalia, where the conflict in Las Anod enters a new chapter. Separatist Somalian military announced last week Sunday their intent to launch an offensive against Khartoum SSC forces opposed to Somaliland stationed in the city, marking a shift in strategy from Hargeisa. Now, according to Faisal Abdi Bhutan, today the commander of the 12th Brigade of the Somaliland military, the army is taking strong military measures in the town. Bhutan stated in an interview with Somaliland-owned media from Goja at the command near Las Anod that the military would intensify its operations and take unforgettable step against its enemy. Now, the commander alleged that the opposing forces had suffered heavy losses on Saturday's fighting and accused the Puntland administration of involvement in the conflict. Now, in response to Somaliland's claims, Abdulrazak Mohammed Hassan, the spokesman for the 33 members SSC Elders Council, stated that they had killed 100 soldiers from Somaliland and wounded another 100. Now, Hassan added that they had defeated Somaliland's army in the war. Indeed, Somaliland has failed to capture Las Anod. On Saturday, it launched an offensive to capture the city, but failed to do so. Now, recently, the US government called on both parties to adhere to a ceasefire and suggested that Somaliland withdraw its troops to a distance, a proposal that has proven difficult for Somaliland to accept. Now, political tensions have risen in Somalia over the past 24 hours with the appointment by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud of close ally Abdikarim Guled as Villa Somalia's special envoy for Somaliland affairs. Now, the Puntland Minister of Information, Mahmoud Aidi Dirir, who held a press conference in Garowe on Sunday, described the appointment of Somaliland's envoy as an unnecessary political issue which violates the rights of the SSC region. Some analysts have highlighted that such a move might trample on SSC Khatama calls for a separate federal member state in northern Somalia. Indeed, Somaliland considers the entirety of the SSC Khatama region as part of its jurisdiction, despite both the federal government in Mogadishu and the international community legally classifying Somaliland as part of the country of Somalia. The region has acted as a de facto separate state. Now, talks between Villa Somalia and Hargeisa are expected to tackle issues of unity. Now, over to Central Africa in the Republic of Congo, where Ugandan troops operating as part of an East African regional military force entered the east of the DRC border town of Bunagana on Friday, an army spokesman, witnesses said. Now, soldiers are intended to supervise the gradual withdrawal of the M23 rebel group, which has conquered swathes of territory in eastern Congo since taking up arms again in late 2021. And the Ugandan contingent of the East African Community, EAC that is, entered Bugana on Friday morning, according to Force Commander Kenyan General Jeff Nyanga. He explained to reporters on Friday that about 1,000 Ugandan soldiers had crossed into the town, which lies in the Ugandan border, as part of a contingent that is expected to eventually comprise of 2,000 troops. A local resident told international media that the Ugandan troops had entered the town with vehicles and tanks. On Thursday evening, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni stated that the troops are not due to fight the M23 rebels. Rather, they will occupy some of the positions that M23 rebels has handed over to the East African force as a neutral force, he said. The seven-nation EAC decided last June to create a military force, with the aim of stabilizing Eastern Congo, which has been plagued by armed groups for decades. March 30th was supposed to mark the end of the withdrawal of all armed groups according to timetable adopted in mid-February by the EAC, and the deadline was not respected. And finally, over to South Africa, where South Africa's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, re-elected John Steenhuisen as its leader on Sunday, putting him in prime position as it campaigns to unseat the ruling ANC, or the African National Congress, in next year's national elections. The 47-year-old received 83% of the vote at the Democratic Alliance's National Congress in Johannesburg and was running against former mayor of Johannesburg, Fo Falatase, who would have been only the second black leader in the party's history. Steenhuisen will serve a 3-year term as leader of the Democratic Alliance, which has historically appealed to a largely white demographic. During the remaining months before next year's elections, the DA will make it our number one priority to prevent an ANC-EFF coalition, Steenhuisen said in his first victory speech, referring to the Economic Freedom Fighters, another left-leaning opposition party. The Democratic Alliance was formed in 2003 after breaking away from parties that historically were part of the apartheid government. It became the official opposition following the 2004 general election and steadily grew its support until 2019, where it suffered its first decline in a national election under the leadership of Mumusi, its first black leader. The party has managed to maintain control of Western Cape Province, and in 2021 local government election, it won mayoral positions through coalition governments in 3 key cities across South Africa. But the coalition have proven difficult to manage, and the DA has had all of his three mayoral candidates ousted since 2021. Now, Steinhausen conceded that the coalitions to date had been unstable and announced plans to lead a pre-election united opposition moonshoot pact consisting of opposition parties and civic organizations. During the 2021 elections, the ruling ANC fell below the 50% threshold. For the first time in democratic history, the DA won 20% of the vote compared with 24.6% 5 years before, losing votes to the EEF. And that is the top stories on the African Weekly Roundup this week. Please tune in next week for all the top stories across the African continent.